After discovering the teachings of Stoicism, I have found their perspective on handling adversity to be incredibly impactful in my life. It has allowed me to approach and confront hardships with calmness and resilience. In this video, I will explore with you the position that Stoicism takes on adversity and how it can be transformed into an advantage. So stick to the end to learn how you can incorporate this powerful mindset into your own personal journey. According to Seneca, it is essential to surrender ourselves to fate. During the Roman era, the Stoics and the Romans in general believed that their destinies were predetermined by the gods and that there was no escape from it whatsoever. Epictetus agrees with this notion and suggests that we must always remember that we are mere actors in a play scripted by the fates. We may not have control over the roles we are given, but it is important to perform them to the best of our ability. In other words, everyone is given a unique set of cards, and it is completely up to us to decide how to play them. One can either choose to complain about being dealt a bad hand or take action and improve their outcome. The Stoics advise us to remember that the past was unavoidable, so dwelling too much on it will cause unnecessary harm and suffering. We should aim to protect our inner peace and our mental energy from such thoughts. Don't seek for everything to happen as you wish it would, but rather wish that everything happens as it actually will. Then your life will flow well. Epictetus in Charidion. Epictetus argues that the wise man, the person that lives by this principle, would try and would strive to make all his desires conform to the events that's happening in the real life, instead of the other way around. He also adds that one should have mental flexibility when confronting events or even when having desires. So for example, the objective according to Epictetus to be really flexible and always adapt to the situation no matter what happens. I will give an exaggerated and maybe stereotypical example to illustrate Epictetus' point. If you're tall and athletic, then it would be wise to pursue a career in basketball. However, if you're good with numbers, good in math, then it would also be wise to pursue a career in economics or in tech or engineering. The objective here, according to Epictetus, is to consciously spot your advantage and maximize their potential. The example I just gave is related to mental capabilities and physical traits, because being tall or being smart, but that would also apply to any situation we encounter in our lives. The goal here is to look for every situation in the advantage. Every situation has two handles, as Epictetus says, the positive and the negative, and it's completely up to us to choose which handle to look at the situation. So according to Epictetus, another time, it is all a matter of perspective. The same event could happen to two different people and every one of them would have a completely different outlook on the event. It all comes down to the perspective ones have. When we cultivate this mindset, we learn to spot the positive in everything. Everything that happens as it should. And if you observe carefully, you will find this to be so. Marcus Aurelius. According to Marcus Aurelius, it is really wise to accept all events, whether favorable or not, because resisting them would be like resisting nature. He believes that there is no benefit of doing so, of resisting events, and that would only lead to negative consequences. He argues that accepting fate and adapting to our environment that fate has placed us in will rid us completely of any negative emotions such as regrets, anxieties, and frustrations. He argues that the wise man does not complain about his environment or the people around him, but appreciates everything as it is. After hearing this advice, one might ask, is Stoicism promoting complacency? And the short answer is no. It's not at all the case. This mindset of acceptance and fatalism was only reserved to past events. However, for future events, the Stoics displayed ambition and dedication to achieving their goals and shaping their outcomes in their favor. It is also important to note that the Stoics were highly accomplished individuals. Seneca, for example, led a fulfilling life as a philosopher, investor, and a political advisor. Epictetus and Musonius Rufus had their own schools of philosophy, while Marcus Aurelius was the emperor of the Roman Empire, the biggest empire at the time. This goes to show that their advice on accepting one's fate doesn't mean giving up on pursuing one's goals or being proactive in life. The Stoic philosophy encourages us to live simply, but also to strive for personal growth and productivity. It teaches us to value our time and be physically active, while also fulfilling our social duties and contributing to society. These teachings do not promote a passive or indifferent approach to life, but rather a balanced and purposeful one. Although it might seem contradictory, The lesson to learn here is that whatever happened in the past is beyond our control, but the future remains in our hands. The Stoics suggest that we should reflect on past events, not to dwell on them, but to learn from our mistakes. While making this video, I was also reading a book that talks a lot about the idea of destiny and fate, but from a metaphysical perspective, so I would like to share the thoughts with you. The book is called Reality Transurfing, written by Vadim Zeland, a quantum physics researcher in Russia. So the author puts forward the idea that there's an alternative space where all the possible scenarios and outcomes exist. So every version of myself exists in this alternative space, and it is completely up to my intention, my actions, and my decisions to navigate myself to the desired lifeline. So I found it interesting because this idea echoes the Roman idea that fate is predetermined, as in everything is already written, the good and the bad. But it also emphasizes the ideas that the future remains in our hands and that we are the architects of our lives. According to this idea, we have the power to direct our lives in whichever way we choose fit. It is a really powerful book, so I really recommend you to read it if you're interested in the idea of destiny, of shaping your reality and your life, and I'll put the link in the description. The Stoics are not just recommending us to have a fatalist mindset and accept our pasts. They go even further and advise us to see every obstacle or every adversity as an advantage. You can clearly see it in Marcus Aurelius' Meditations. He regards every event, every obstacle as the best possible outcome. He puts all his trust in nature. He welcomes everything with calmness and composure and refuses to give it any significance or any value. Seneca also regards everything in the same positive light. He says, "A setback has often cleared the way for greater prosperity. Many things have fallen only to rise to more exalted heights." Seneca, Letters from a Stoic. This mindset is perfectly embodied in the German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche's Amor Fati, which means the love of one's fate. Nietzsche argues that Amor Fati is the way for human greatness. He explains that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity. Not merely bear what is necessary, still less conceal it, but love it. Stoicism as a philosophy is rooted in overcoming adversity. Zeno of Citium, who came from a long line of successful dye merchants, was no exception. While traveling to Athens to sell his goods, he suffered a shipwreck, leaving him on the shore with nothing. For many, this would be a devastating outcome, especially since it was a near-death experience. But for Zeno, it marked the start of a profound and timeless philosophy. This experience sparked his interest in philosophy and motivated him to learn more. He then meets Crates, who becomes his mentor, and under his guidance, Zeno discovers the path that would lead him to create Stoicism. A quick exercise you can do is look at any major setback you face in your life, think of this precise event, and try to connect the dots with all the good things that happened because of it. Try to have a broader perspective when looking at the matter, and think in terms of second, third order consequences. What were the events that happened because of the initial negative event? Most of the times you'll come to realize that what happened that you considered or labeled as negative gave birth to something much greater. Speaking of that, I would also like to share with you a personal experience that has to do with an adversity that turned into an advantage. During my teenage years, I faced a challenging period where I experienced a breakup, completely lost interest in school, and even lost my passion for playing football. Although this may be a typical phase for many teenagers, it really impacted my confidence. I decided then to take a radical change and start 2 new hobbies: working out and reading philosophy. So because of this period, I started to educate myself about philosophy by reading books, articles, and watching YouTube videos. And slowly this new habit for me became a passion that slowly turned into an obsession. I remember vividly reading the works of Carl Jung, Friedrich Nietzsche, and the Stoics in general, and I remember the shift it had on my mindset at the time. So looking back, I'm really grateful for this difficult period of my life because it led me where I am today, and it helped me develop the passions I'm pursuing today. So after approximately 10 years from this difficult period, I can say that this was a catalyst for creating this channel and talking to you about my passion for philosophy. And as Freud once said, One day, in retrospect, the years of struggle will strike you as the most beautiful. So guys, to conclude, I would like to make a quick reminder. In life, no one is immune to adversity. We will always face it regardless of our age. So instead of complaining and suffering passively, we should adopt the right mindset to develop mental resilience and better face it. We should also strive, as the Stoics and Nietzsche said, to love our fates and turn every adversity into an advantage. Thank you for watching.